Right, Vince, I said I was going to make you a little video on the breakdown of the Servo brake booster, as you call them. So I've dismantled it, and I didn't do any damage to the casing. I was struggling a little bit with the outside casing, so I did actually just try and loosen it off a little bit, and then it did twist off. So I'm quite confident, and I've reassembled it. It does fit back together again. Okay. Now, you mentioned in your message about the brake booster, and I know I've seen them on eBay in the UK for the similar sort of money, but unfortunately, my mountings are here on the Wolseley, the 3 mountings. But more importantly, this is the slave cylinder that attaches to the servo, as you know. On the back of mine, this particular part here, you can see how big it is. But that incorporates the internal spring mechanism. This part here, and the seals obviously that go in there, and the circlip and the washer and all the business. And then you can see the diameter of that thing there, what fits on the end of it, and that in turn, after it's bolted onto there, that incorporates this banjo, and this valve and this adapter that fits on the end. Now, there's no way that I could get that into the brake boosters that are available on eBay. So that's the other problem. Now, bear with me a minute. Right, getting back to the brake booster. I've cleaned that bore out. That bore inside there, that's smooth and clean inside there. That's where this little piston operates, and I've cleaned all that up. And it does actually drop in. There's no seal on it, but it drops inside there, and it just drops out again. Look, you can see it's running smooth in there. So that was a possibility of where one of them was sticking in the back there. That little piston there. It was coming out under the pressure, but it maybe wasn't going back in, which could account for maybe why the brakes were sticking on. So that's one issue that may or may not get resolved. I'm still not confident that was the cause, but who knows? I don't know anything about these servos at all. I'll just show you the push rod. The push rod itself, you can see it's spotlessly clean, and it was running quite smoothly through the cylinder, through all the seals. The other issue when I dismantled it, of course, you can see perhaps the residues. There was quite a considerable amount of brake fluid in there that I drained out before I stripped it out the first time. So and again when I dismantled it this time. So obviously the seal at the back here, which is another. This it was this seal. It was this seal at the back. So again, I've cleaned the bore out. The bore's all nice. There is a couple of pits in it, but the seal sits further down in this one, and it doesn't move. There's no moving part. There's no moving part in this bore. All that is, it's just a seal to stop the fluid leaking past the push rod, which was the initial cause of the leaking inside the servo. So I'm confident that with a new seal kit, that'll seal and that'll stop the fluid getting into the canisters. Now the other issue I had, and I don't know whether you would have done it or not, but apparently the spring inside this, I mean, I've had all this apart and the gauze was blocked, the gauze filter was blocked. So I've just actually put a little bit of breathable, just one single layer of breathable stuff there, just as a temporary fix. If it doesn't work, then nothing lost. But apparently this spring that's inside here, when you take this off, there's a tapered spring, and there's not very much pressure on it, but I think it just alternates for the vacuum, for the ambient air temperature, air pressure outside, which that does. but it's pushed in turn with two other springs. There's a spring here, as you know, and that sits inside the one side of the diaphragm plate here, the diaphragm. One small spring sits here, and then there's a larger spring which is here, which sits at the other side of the diaphragm. So we've got quite a big spring there, and then that smaller spring sits on that side of it. And so there's not very much pressure needs to be on that valve. It's operated by the bigger springs. It's just to seal the outside pressure, I believe. That looks okay to reuse. I may have to buy a modern fitting that hopefully will fit. It replaces all this part, and it's an all built-in new part. Now, if they don't do one for the Wolseley, I'm going to have to use all these old parts. Now, this diaphragm, I've checked it and double checked it and triple checked it, and I've put some thin fluid inside this diaphragm here, inside the centre part, just to see if anything's coming through onto this side. I've moved it backwards and forwards. And I've checked for perishing. There's no perishing. There's no perishing around the edges here. There's no perishing inside, right inside. And I'm actually quite confident that isn't damaged at all. It's quite a thick diaphragm, and I just don't think it's leaking. I'm 99.9% certain that it isn't leaking, because that's all riveted on, and although I can get that part, I don't think that's the problem at the moment. And if it is, then I don't mind if I can cure the sticking brake. I don't mind replacing that part with a 20-25 quid diaphragm and re-riveting that on. But that would be only after I found out that nothing else has worked. The other issue, here's the diaphragm itself. Now this again, it's I don't know, I guess it's about 1/16 of an inch thick, this rubber. I've double checked, there's no signs of perishing anywhere on the joints, you know, on the edges where the most movement is, which would be on this corner here, and this corner where it floats around the seal. There's absolutely no signs of wear at all, no perishing. It actually looks like it's as good as new, that diaphragm. So I don't think there's any point in spending 30 quid on that when there's no signs at all of any wear at all on this. No signs at all. The push rod, as I said, the push rod's very good condition. It's not showing any signs of wear. And that's about it, Vince, really. So that would be the main cause of me not being able to replace the booster. You can see that's, I don't know, it's probably about an inch, that thread at that end. And all the ones I've seen online, the replacement boosters, even for the Healy, which uses a lot of these parts, they don't have that big thick end on there. And to be fair, I want to try and keep it, if possible, as original as I can, using the parts. But if I can't get it done, I'll have to think of modifying it. But that would also mean modifying all the brake lines. Everything would have to be altered, and you know, it's just a never-ending process if I can't use the original. So I'm hoping, again, this is absolutely, it's showing no fatigue, no signs of wear or anything. So there you go. And in fact, if you look inside the canister, Vince, although there was fluid inside there from that leaking seal at the back, there wasn't any rust in there. Where I've sanded it a little bit is just where the brake fluid built up a little bit of crud, but the whole canisters and everything, they're really, considering it's 55 years old, you can see it's all been cleaned up and everything looks okay. So hopefully there's no reason why I can't use that again. So yeah, we've just been watching the Australian, I don't know whether it's football or rugby, it's a bit of a mixture of both, on the telly this morning before the MotoGP starts. But them boys certainly do a lot of work running around on that pitch. So anyway, Vince, wishing you both well, and hope you found this interesting. And you can, I did show you the, let me just see, yeah, I did show you the little piston that I thought maybe was sticking, and it wasn't that it was sticking in the bore, it was the edge of the piston that actually sits. Let me just get this video again for you. It actually, I know it's the the wrong way around, but it could have been catching on the sidewall there, but as I say, that drops in. But both times when I've dismantled it, this piston here was stuck at the top there like that. It was at the top. Now whether that should have been retracted back, I don't know. In normal when the brakes are off, if that should be back like that. But both the times I've dismantled it, it's been at the front like that. So that's one clue, if at all. And that's the number of the, can't see it on the video. Oh yeah, it's 88764, I believe, but I've referenced that number and I just can't find it. So although it looks the same as the Rover, I don't think it is, and they're a different shape here. They're a triangular fitting, whereas this is 4. So right, that's the video, Vince. Let me know what you think of it, and thanks for all your advice and help that you've been giving me. And yeah, hopefully we'll catch up later when everything's resolved. So there's my little art gallery, paying homage to the Australians. Bless him. He's my favourite character. Yeah, so there you go. Cheers, Vince.